I'm going with one that I've been thinking about lately. And actually, this doesn't really reflect my ranking, so I need to move him up. But Hunter Henry for the Patriots. I'm starting to get into this. I've heard some very compelling
We're still doing
arguments.
this? We're still doing the Hunter Henry
We're
thing?
still fucking doing it, Craig. All right, we did it forever with David Njoku. It finally paid off, so might as well with Hunter Henry. The next Gronk, if you will remember. No, but I think situationally is more what I'm excited about. I think Hunter Henry is a perfectly fine tight end. I don't think he's a super above and beyond talent necessarily, but he's a pretty good tight end. What I'm excited about is the Patriots offense under a new offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, who is bringing the Browns offense essentially to New England. If you look at the target rate to tight end for the Browns over the last 3 seasons, 26%, 24%, 27%, 6th, 5th, 4th most among all teams. This is an offense that utilizes the tight end position a lot. And add in the fact that Mike Gesicki is now not in New England. He played about 50% of the team's snaps last year. He's kind of out of the way. I know they did sign Craig's, arch nemesis over the offseason, Austin Hooper, but I don't think he's good enough to really.
What a jerk.
For people that don't know what we're talking about, Craig played Austin Hooper in Little League Baseball, and I don't remember what happened. Did you strike out? What happened? Did you hit a home run?
Well, he was just kind of a baby in Little League Baseball. We also went to the same middle school, and we played the intramural sports against one another. Anyway.
Got it.
I would have gone pro if Coach didn't hit me. Anyway, keep going.
If Austin Hooper wasn't bullying me, I would have gone pro.
If Austin Hooper wasn't held back a year, so he was bigger than all the other kids.
So anyways, Mike Gesicki gone. If we could get...
he definitely doesn't know who I am, by the way, which is like, if you asked him who's Craig Horlbeck, he'd be like, I have no fucking idea. Good for Austin Hooper. I think he catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Like, he's doing well.
He's done fine with himself. Hunter Henry last year played 74% of the snaps. If we could get that up like 80, 85% this year playing time, I don't know. I feel like things could be good here as a sleeper, and there will be almost surely better quarterback play, or at least acceptable quarterback play from either Drake May or Jacoby Brissett. So, I don't think he's necessarily going to be like a tight end, top 5 tight end, but I think he could be a sleeper that you could plug in.
Yeah, this is nice. This is much deeper than mine. My sleeper was Jake Ferguson on Dallas, who was a top 10 tight end last year, and nobody cares.
Because his name's Jake Ferguson.
It honestly might be. Heifetz in his rankings doesn't have him top 90. DK, you don't have him top 115.
I need to move him up. I
have him right around 70.
I think I moved all the tight ends down because there's so many.
I mean, last year he was the 81. He finished 81 overall in football. And this year, I'm like, what's kind of not to like? Like, what is worse? There's no target competition in Dallas. Dallas is sneaky, like one of the shittiest kind of like skill position groups in the league now. They have nobody at running back. They brought in Ezekiel Elliott. They really just have CeeDee Lamb, and that's kind of it. They still have Brandon Cooks. Michael Gallup is gone. And then they kind of just have Jake Ferguson, who has become kind of Dak Prescott's like dependable security blanket guy. Last year, he had over 70 catches, 750 yards. But he only had 5 touchdowns. And I think that's the area where I'm like, dude, this guy led all tight ends in red zone targets last year. Jake Ferguson. Dak Prescott loves him. He was number 1 in the league in red zone targets last year. So I'm like, I don't know. What's really the competition here? To me, the floor is quite high for Jake Ferguson, and the ceiling, although I don't know, maybe he's not going to be Travis Kelce. I'm like, he's kind of just in a nice sweet spot of like going to finish in the tight end 5 to 9 range.
I like this one a lot, actually. I need to move him up because I think you're absolutely right. He's essentially the receiver 2 in this offense. I think he's actually pretty underrated as a talent too. When you watch him, he can move around. He's shaking guys as a route runner. He's really tall and long, has a huge catch radius. And I think, and most importantly, Dak Prescott loves to feed his tight ends. Like that's always been his thing throughout his career. I was looking at the numbers last offseason, and his target rate to tight end has always been one of the, maybe top 8 or 7 in the NFL going back several years. That's a big part of what the offense does. So yeah, I think the only thing that's scaring me a little bit about Jake Ferguson is just, he feels a little bit replaceable if like some other guy comes in, or, like maybe Schoonmaker makes a big leap or something. They drafted this guy in the 2nd round a couple of years ago, Schoonmaker. So I feel like there's just a little bit of, he's not as entrenched as other players, but at the same time, I mean, he looked pretty good to me last year. I don't see, they're most likely not going to like replace him anytime soon.
Schoonmaker is such an interesting name.
I know. I'm surprised it's not Schoonmaker.
It might be.
So
I'm
just
not
Googled
100
it
percent
'cause
sure
it
it's not.
So you know how people's last name like Cooper was like a barrel maker? So Schoonmaker was a shoemaker from Middle Low German, like Middle Low German name for like a cobbler.
I thought it was going to be a schooner.
I thought it was. That's why I googled that. I was wondering if his family built ships.
Maybe schooners are they look like shoes.
Is that what somebody who builds ships is a schooner?
Well, no, schooners.
There's
are
a
ships.
schooner that is a type of ship.
Schooners.
How do you guys know that? You both knew that?
Yeah, I come to think of it, I can't tell you why I do that, but
Mall rats.
That's crazy.
I
Good
don't
for
know.
you guys. I got to read more.
There's sleepers. Then there's also post type sleepers.
Mm-hmm.
I have Kyle Pitts, but
Yeah.
I don't need to do that again. But I feel like
We did that.
he's kind of the most post type sleeper of all time.
Are
But
you in, Heifetz? I don't know if we got your official decision. Are you in?
it's like again, it's a toxic relationship, and I'm kind of looking at the thirst trap on Instagram, and I'm like, I'm thinking about it.
This happens
like-
in every draft, like especially if he falls. At some point, you talk yourself into this is a value at this spot, even though you do not want the play.
Value. We're just friends. Just hook up. We're just gonna hook up one time.
Yeah. No strings attached.
No strings attached.
Oh, there's strings.
110.
There's strings with this
There's
guy.
no strings. Sam Laporta 30. I'll just have Kyle Pitts. I'll just Kyle Pitts later.
There's
I
no
don't need to-
player in the NFL with more strings attached than Kyle Pitts.
It's like I met him. I don't know what I would do. You know?
Punch him right in the face.
Well, no problem.
No, you'd probably say sorry for all the bad things that have happened to you and that we said about you.
Right. That's what
I
I
would
was gonna
expect
say.
it. DK, who's your post type sleeper?
Speaking of players that we're never going to give up on, Noah Fant for the Seahawks. Another first round tight end that hasn't done anything much in the NFL. This is his year, though, guys. Situation. Let's take a look at the situation because that's the most important thing. I think I've always believed in his talent, but he's just been on really crappy situations with the Broncos and then with the Seahawks. Last year, the Seahawks they had 3 good tight ends on their offense. This was like one of the main, the most strong position groups for the team last year. And we saw that this year. Like Will Dissly got a 3-year, $14 million deal with the Chargers. Colby Parkinson got a 3-year, $22 million deal with the Rams, surprisingly. And those 3 guys rotated out throughout last season. Fant played on 55% of the snaps. Dissly played on 40% of the snaps. Colby Parkinson played on 47% of the snaps. It's just very difficult to be a good any position if you're not playing a full complement of snaps, but especially at tight end. If you're playing 54% of the snaps, it's just not going to happen this year. If we can get Fant again up to like that 80% mark, that would be amazing. The
It's
Seahawks
the rookie numbers. Got to bump the numbers way up.
got to get those numbers up. But I mean, he's the guy who's running routes for the Seahawks at the tight end position. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. I don't know what this offense is going to do in terms of how often it's going to, target the tight end position. The Seahawks did just sign him to a 2-year, $21 million deal.
That is a lot.
That's 11.
I was going to say, if you pay your tight end $10 million and still rotate him, once again, I could be a fucking GM. I could give someone $10 million and not fucking throw them the ball.
100%. My only worry with that comment, Heifetz, is I think they did that with Will Dissly. They gave Will Dissly like a weird amount of money.
It's they're paying for the intangibles. The vibe, the locker room vibe.
Increasingly think I could do this job.
Yeah. I actually, not a bit, kind of think you could do this job.
Dude, I'm in. I'm all in on Heifetz as GM.
Step 1. Hire Bill Belichick.
He's already ahead of like 2/3 of the NFL.
I know I never played the game.
Decision.
I never played the game, guys. I don't know if I know what I'm doing, but anyway.
But anyways, Noah Fant in the Seahawks offense, which I think could make a big jump in this new offensive scheme. I don't know, man. Why not? Noah Fant. Last round pick.
My sleeper or my post type sleeper is Pat Freiermuth. I was,
Patty Fries.
Yeah, I was kind of like reading about the Steelers offense and thinking about it, looking at all these tight ends, and I was like, let's revisit old Patty Fries. Last year, 27th best tight end in points per game. He was terrible. But he got hurt last year, and the season was a mess. The year before that, he was a top 12 tight end in his second year with Kenny Pickett. Year before that, as a rookie, he was a top 15 tight end with vegetable Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback.
They wheeled him out for the game.
like the Kirk Douglas Award. Ben Roethlisberger is getting rolled out to give out an award for worst team. My eyes see Pat Fryermuth.
Like the question, the connotation of a question at the end. Pat Fryermuth?
And look, DK, you might not want to hear this, but Arthur Smith uses his tight ends a lot, just not Kyle Pitts.
Yep.
If you look at last year, the Falcons had the highest tight end target share in the NFL.
Yes.
The Falcons. That's the most incredible fucking stat.
They threw more to their tight ends than any other team in the league. 34% of their passes went to tight ends.
Michael Pruitt, Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith. Literally more than 1 in every 3 passes went to a tight end in the Falcons offense. And if you look at the Steelers last year, they were 23rd in the league. 19% of their passes went to tight ends. So one, I think Arthur Smith coming in, he likes throwing to his tight ends. The Steelers' 2 tight ends are Pat Fryermuth and Darnell Washington. Darnell Washington is essentially an offensive lineman. Like It's pretty much just Pat Fryermuth. And you look at the rest of the skill position group in Pittsburgh, you have George Pickens, you have rookie Roman Wilson, slot guy out of Michigan. You have Calvin Austin III, who I'm pretty sure if you Google him, his college stats pop up before his professional stats. Like he's not really involved. And so I'm kind of like, Pat Fryermuth is kind of the number 2 option here in Pittsburgh for an offense that I assume will be better. The offensive line will be better. The quarterback play should be better. And I'm like, I don't know. Pat Fryermuth, the first 2 years of his career, he was one of only 2 tight ends in the history of the NFL to start his career with 2 back-to-back seasons with more than 60 catches. No one else had ever done that.
That's wild. I never think about Pat Fryermuth.
And then last year, everybody was all in on him, and it was a complete disaster. And I'm like, I don't know. Pat's still good. Still young.
Of all the guys that we've talked about today, that would be like a shocking top 5 finisher in amongst tight ends next year. I feel like Fryermuth could be the guy. I like everything you're saying right now, Craig. You're selling me on this.
Yeah.
He's like discount Kincaid, not in that he plays like Dalton Kincaid, but in that is he just the number 1 receiver for this team, kind of?
Right.
Like what if like I see what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, what if Pat Fryermuth just
What if the Arthur Smith thing happens though again, and it's just Darnell Washington is the guy that you actually want?
Well, that'll be a fun world where Darnell Washington's the ball in NFL games. The next one we got here is Now the Tuxedos Seem Kind of Fucked Up award.
Yeah.
From Step Brothers when they go in for the interview together.
Two people come for the same interview. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the teammates that kind of like you don't really know what to do with, and there's one job. And I was looking at this and I was thinking about, I know everything I just said about all the other tight ends, but I'm like, why don't I just draft Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely from Baltimore? It's like the only tight end situation. If you had just taken Mark Andrews last year, Mark Andrews got hurt. He was out for the season after week 11. If you had just had Mark Andrews and then just picked up Isaiah Likely, that was the number 2 tight end in the NFL, in fantasy football last year. It was just if you just had the Ravens tight ends. And I'm like, Mark Andrews coming off injury, but what if you just did that again?
I'm not against it.
Honestly, there's something about Mark Andrews that has never interested me. I've never drafted him.
Boring name.
Boring name. Mark Andrews, like Jake Ferguson.
So is it because he volleyball sets potential touchdowns into the 5th row of the stands?
Yeah, maybe that's too big of an ick for me. It's like every year Mark Andrews is good. He usually misses like 3 games because of an injury, but I don't know why I don't draft him because he's great every year.
Yeah. So there's guys in fantasy that I just have a pure blind spot for. I just like literally will never consider taking them ever.
I don't care for Job.
Like truly, like I'll just see them. They'll be on the queue. I'll never once consider taking them. And you know what? Sometimes those guys turn out to be really good. Having this whole discussion, it kind of makes me mad that the Ravens took Isaiah Likely and have Isaiah Likely because they're just keeping him from the world. Let him out into the world.
Isaiah
you guys
Likely's
are stifling
incredible.
him.
Isaiah Likely is incredible.
Every time that dude plays, he's great.
I'm so mad at the Ravens for having him. Give him up. It's time to let it go.
DK, who should
trade him to the Seahawks?
Give him to any other team. I don't give a shit who.
Well, not the Chargers or the Steelers, but
not another team that would ruin our fantasy world. That's kind of the Bowers Mayer conversation with the Raiders. Like I was pretty excited about what Mayer was going to be this year, and then they drafted Bowers. I'm like, what the fuck? The other team, I think that's
that's actually the tuxedos are kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
like the second rounder in Mayer, and then
why are we doing this?
And they're in black and white tuxedos.
There you go.
Well, there you go.
I think this is a team just in general that I don't know what I'm going to do with this year in drafts. This is the Packers and Luke Musgrave versus Tucker Kraft. So let's run down the Packers offense. It's going to be super annoying. They have 2 to 3 running backs: Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, AJ Dillon. What do we do with that group? There's going to be a rotation. The Packers have always used a pretty heavy rotation. They have like a million wide receivers that we have to sort through: Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs. Bo Melton scored like a bunch of points at the end of the season. Should I keep going? There's more guys on that team, I feel like. And then 2 good tight ends: Luke Musgrave, who they took in the 2nd round, I believe, and then Tucker Kraft, who they took in the 3rd round. And Musgrave was the presumptive starter, like everything we heard was, and he did end up starting the season for them last year, but then Kraft came in when Musgrave got hurt, and he was arguably more effective and like a little bit more versatile. Musgrave scored, he had 2 games last year where he had scored 10 plus PPR points, and Tucker Kraft had 4, all of them when Musgrave was out. And then you put them together, we're going to have like a potential Seahawks situation where both guys are playing like 50% of snaps. So I don't know what to do with these guys. I think they're stayaways in fantasy unless one guy gets hurt, because I think they're just going to cannibalize each other's production.
The Packers are weird because I don't like any of the players on their team for fantasy football. And yet I think the Packers are like going to make the NFC Championship.
Yeah, they're going to be really good. You just never know who's going to score points for them.
Would we be happier if you could just draft Packers running backs? Like Packers tight ends, you just got the whole unit for a team. Would we be happier?
There's definitely something to that. I mean, maybe
like instead of hating
honest,
Kyle Pitts and Arthur Smith, we just drafted Falcons tight ends and we're thrilled every week.
Do you think though?
It's too easy.
You know how like with our
Is
waiver
it?
wire show on Monday, we kind of stopped. Remember on our waiver wire show, we kind of pivoted away from like going after one specific player, and we just like made the showdown time about a position group. It made more logic sense, but was it as fun?
No.
No,
we're going back.
Yeah.
You know, there's something more fun about just being like, fuck it, I'm going to draft fucking Kyle Pitts and hope it works. Not Arthur Smith's interest in the tight end position. I'm not drafting target share by team. I'm going after one guy.
You got to draw the line somewhere. And that's where I draw the line.
The Ricky Bobby first or last guy, which is like, you know, we have to rank these players, but in reality, there's always like players that or they're going to finish way higher, or way lower, and you just kind of have to middle them somewhere in the ranking. Like Kadarius Toney last year, you put him 100th, you're like, yeah, he'll be 40th, or like unranked, but like you can't put him there. So I think this year, that guy for me is TJ Hawkinson for the Vikings.
Yeah,
that's a great
one.
one.
No idea where to put this guy. Yeah. TJ Hawkinson is a top 2 tight end. TJ Hawkinson might be the number 1 tight end in fan. Well, probably not with Justin Jefferson fully healthy, but like he's probably at least the top 3 tight end if healthy. But he is coming off a torn ACL. And it was somewhat late in the season, which is scary. And so it's like, will he be healthy in September? 100%, probably not. 100% October, maybe. But then again, from Thanksgiving on, could TJ Hawkinson be like the fantasy playoffs, the number 1 tight end? Totally. I have him as the 12th tight end, really, because it's almost like he's almost like a target to actually hold all year and just hope that he recovers. But I don't know what to do with him. But he feels like someone who genuinely might be not only not playing, but if he's playing an active detriment to your team. But then early, but then a league winner late.
I completely agree with you. I think he is the biggest boom bust player at the position. He's definitely going to fall too late in drafts. Nobody's going to want him because he's hurt. He's going to have that little hospital logo next to his name that everybody's terrified of. Someone's going to take him in like the 10th, and he's going to be great and probably make the playoffs because of him.